The moment the news broke, South Korea fell into a silence that didn't feel real. A man who had been part of living rooms, childhoods, and entire generations was suddenly gone. Lee Soon-jae, the nation's TV dad, the warm voice millions grew up with, had passed away at 91, and for a few seconds it felt like the whole country paused, trying to process how someone so familiar, so steady, could be gone. But the truth is, his legacy was always bigger than any single role, and the story behind his life is something most people never knew. It's hard to imagine Korean entertainment without him, because for more than 70 years, Lee Soon-jae wasn't just an actor, he was a constant presence. From theater stages to television screens and blockbuster films, he built a career so long and so rich that people grew older watching him play roles that felt like family. He became the nation's TV dad because he carried a kind of wisdom that felt real. Whether he was the strict, no-nonsense father in What on Earth is Love, or the goofy, lovable grandpa everyone adored in High Kick. After his passing, tributes came pouring in from every corner of the industry. Young K-pop idols spoke about his kindness, fellow actors called him their mentor, and even the president wrote about how Lee brought laughter, comfort, and courage to an entire country. Just last year, he proved age meant nothing when he won the KBS Grand Prize, becoming the oldest South Korean actor ever to receive that honor. But his journey wasn't always this legendary. But behind a warm smile people loved was a man who never stopped pushing himself. Long before he became South Korea's TV dad, Lee Soon-jae lived a childhood filled with uncertainty. Born in 1934 in what is now North Korea, he was just 4 years old when his family fled south to Seoul, searching for stability in a time when the country was constantly shifting. While most kids were still learning how to read, Lee was helping in his grandparents' shop in Namdaemun Market, standing behind the counter on the very day Korea was liberated in 1945. He grew up fast, but he also grew up curious. After getting into the prestigious Seoul National University to study philosophy, he found himself drawn to something completely different: the stage. Everything changed the moment he watched Laurence Olivier perform Hamlet. That performance didn't just impress him, it lit a spark that would shape the next 7 decades of his life. He started in theater, often performing for small crowds with little recognition. Slowly, almost quietly, he moved into television and film, building a reputation for emotional depth and discipline. Even in his 80s and 90s, he refused to slow down. He pushed himself through long rehearsals, heavy scripts, and demanding roles. It was only in 2024, after falling ill during Waiting for Godot, that he finally stepped away mid-run. The first real sign that age had finally touched him, and the final chapter of his life reveals even more about why a nation loved him. Even in his last year, he refused to slow down. While most people his age were resting, Lee Soon-jae was still memorizing scripts, performing on sets, and proving that passion doesn't retire. He lived by a simple philosophy: you become old when you sit down and expect to be waited on. And he never lived a day by that rule. Instead, he challenged himself, traveled for work, and stayed active in ways that startled even younger actors around him. His appearance on Grandpa's Over Flowers became a cultural phenomenon, not because it was flashy, but because it showed something rare. For senior actors pushing through exhaustion, climbing mountains, carrying their own bags, and laughing at the chaos of traveling. In every episode, Lee's mix of wisdom, humor, and quiet toughness won people over. Viewers didn't just watch him, they rooted for him, but his impact stretched far beyond entertainment. In 1992, he briefly stepped into politics, serving as a member of parliament with the conservative Democratic Liberal Party. And although he only served 1 term, that experience showed how deeply he cared about the country. He spent his life entertaining to younger actors. He wasn't just a senior figure, he was the mentor everyone wished they had. Many described him as the person who taught them how to act, how to behave, and how to stay humble in an industry that can easily change people. And in recent years, clips of him from High Kick unexpectedly exploded on TikTok, turning his old comedy scenes into viral memes for an entirely new generation. So when news of his passing spread, it didn't just feel like an actor had died, it felt like a cultural moment, a reminder of how deeply he shaped Korean entertainment, family life, and the memories of millions. But what truly defined Lee Soon-jae wasn't fame, or roles, or awards. In the end, Lee Soon-jae wasn't just an actor, he was everyone's TV dad because he showed people what comfort looked like, what patience sounded like, what kindness felt like. He didn't just play fatherly characters, he lived them, and that's why his presence stretched across generations. From grandparents who watched his earliest dramas to teenagers discovering him through TikTok clips decades later, his passing leaves behind a strange quiet, the kind that makes you realize how rare it is for one person to become part of a nation's daily life without even trying. His face, his voice, his warmth, they became woven into the memories of millions. And it makes you wonder, how does one life, lived with this much honesty and dedication, shape an entire culture? How many people learned something about love, respect, or strength just by watching him on screen? Lee Soon-jae may be gone, but the impression he left behind isn't fading anytime soon. It lives on in the shows, the students he mentored, and the generations who grew up seeing a bit of their own families in him. And maybe that's the truest measure of a legacy.